Piston Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a die-hard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I want to thank you all for listening. Please subscribe and click on that like button. And here we go. Pistons lost a tough one, 128 to 121 to the hottest team in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it was a battle. I mean, with 3 minutes to go, we were 3 minutes and 16 seconds to go, to be specific. We were ahead, 118 to 116, and we did not score at the end for the last 3 minutes, except Cade made a three at the end. But we had the score tied even with 2 minutes to go. And Bogey got a good look, and Burks got a good look, and then we called a timeout, and Burks got the ball, and we had it with plenty of time, but he dribbled it around, and we got a shot clock violation. And then the game was probably out of hand, but then Cade drove down and had a layup, and he missed the layup. And so we got outscored, I think, 10-2 at the end. So it was just really tough that we didn't score. You know, the last 3 minutes, we scored 3 points, 3 minutes to 16 seconds. So it was a tough loss, but they are good. And Cleveland plays tough defense, and we scored. They're giving up only 109 points a game, and we scored 121 on them. But I still think their defense, you know, we turn it over all the time, but I think that their defense was even more of a factor in a lot of our turnovers. They made it hard, but we shot the lights out. I mean, we shot over 50% on threes, and on a lot of them. But they have been winning. In the month of January, they're like 15-2, and they have been winning by an average score of 16 points. They're plus minus plus 16, so they're not just winning every game, but they're killing people. But I just want to let you know, I will not be doing a podcast after the game, the Clippers game. We play the Clippers on Friday, and so I'm going down to watch my granddaughter play, and then she plays on Saturday again. So I'm probably not going to do a podcast probably until after the game on Sunday. So sorry about that. But anyway, they've been winning all these games, and they've been playing without Evan Mobley, who a lot of people think could be a generational player. Well, he didn't play as much like it tonight, and without Darius Garland, who was an all-star. And Garland was on a minutes restriction, but he made the most of his minutes. He scored 19 points in 20 minutes, and we had a hard time stopping him. But it was really tough stopping Donovan Mitchell, and his number is 45, and that's how many points he scored. And he scored 20 in the fourth quarter. And once again, Monty makes no adjustments, and we have a weapon. We have a weapon, and his name is Ausar Thompson, and he was active tonight, and he was playing tonight, man. He was playing great defense, and he was making things happen on the court, just all over the place. But he played 18 minutes. The one thing and I'm always criticizing Monty, and he deserves a lot of it, but he's doing, I think, a little bit better job with a lot of things. Partway, it works nice when your bench comes in, and our bench was phenomenal tonight, especially Gallo. He was really, he didn't miss. Well, he missed one shot, but anyway, you got a guy. This has happened game after game. We have, just such a great defender. But Monty said that he thought about putting in Ausar, but he said, well, if I put him in, he would have just got picked off. But he said we had the schemes we were supposed to, but he said I got to do a better job of letting the guys know what they're supposed to do against Mitchell, because they just kept on letting him go left and shoot the pull up or get to the basket, and we fouled him. So he is one of the best players in the NBA. He's one of the leading scorers in the NBA, and he just makes tough buckets. But you have that weapon. You have to try to 20 points in the fourth quarter. You can't stop him. And we have Ausar Thompson sitting on our bench. And it's hard to be a coach, because who do you take out? And he played the bench longer than normal, but it just was tough. It was just tough, and we just got to, like I said, they got guys. They got the Sam Merrill guy. He had at least 44 threes in the month of January. The only player that's had more threes in the month of January, Alec Burks, and unfortunately he didn't. He missed, like I said, him and Bogey missed wide open ones down in the last 2 minutes of the game that with the game so close. But I mean, they're trying to make it, but this happens quite a bit. You expect your veterans, you like them to make it, but there's been quite a few games where they played really well and shot not so well down the stretch. But Bogey again, though, we've had a couple games lately where we had a chance to win, and he did not have a good game. I mean, he shot well from three, but he was 5 for 12. So uh, we're going to talk about. I got a lot of trade stuff, so I know a lot of people don't listen till the end of the podcast. But if you want to listen to about trades, wait till I break down the game, and then after I break down the game, I'm going to go through a bunch of trade talk and about what our strategy should be going into. It's a week from tomorrow. The trade deadline's a week from tomorrow, but um, let's talk real quick about the Rising Star game. So before the All-Star game, they have the second-year players play the rookies, and uh, Cade and not Cade. Ivy and Duran got chosen to play on the team with the second year players, and that's quite a group of players. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of all-star games played with that group of players, and and it's nice. Duran last year he didn't get to play in it because he was injured. It's nice for Ivy's. It's right near where he played at Purdue, where they're going to be playing in Indianapolis, the All-Star game, and so he's excited. He's going to have I'm sure, a lot of people there to watch him play. And but that again, that group is loaded with players. They got Paulo and Dyson Daniels is not that great, but he's pretty good. But Duran, Ivy, Walker Kessler, Mathurin, Keegan Murray, Shaden Sharp, um, Jalen Williams, and Jabari Smith Jr. That's a tough squad there, I tell you. So I think I think a lot of those guys are going to have really bright futures. So the problem is our guy Ausar did not get to is not going to get to play in it. He did not get chosen, and it's hard to get chosen for things. And some people speculate that maybe because we had two players on the second year team that they weren't going to give us three players. I don't know if because we were crappy or because they like to spread the wealth around. But so Bilal Coulibaly and Keontae George, he's not that great. Jordan Hawkins can shoot the lights out, but Scoot's not even played that great. Chet's obviously phenomenal, and Brandon Podjeski has been good lately, and Derek Lively's been tough. Brandon Miller is really good, and I wanted us to get him. I was hoping we would get a top pick, and he's been shooting lights out, and obviously Victor. So, but here's the thing, what doesn't make sense is Monty started him like the first 18 games. He's a rookie, and you would think that you wouldn't start him. And then as he got most of these rookies, like Cam Whitmore should be in this game. Cam Whitmore is just destroying other teams. He is just shooting threes and dunking on people, and he is, playing big time. But he started out in the G League and played a bunch of times. But we start out with Ausar, and Ausar is, I mean, he was the talk of the NBA. He was, consensus the third best player in the whole of all the rookies. And people were saying, well, maybe he's even better than the third best, and that's saying a lot with Chet and Wemby. So, but then it's just like turning off a light switch. Monty decides not to start him. So in the 18 games that he started, he again, he was the third best rookie by far. He averaged 11 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, over 1 steal a game, over 1.5 blocks a game, and shot 46%. And he was just making play after play, and he was playing 30 minutes. Then all of a sudden, Monty decides, and it wasn't because his play had declined, and that's what you would think. If all of a sudden his play is all of a sudden, I think Monty realized he can't shoot. Surprise. But he still just does so many things. Again, if you watched him tonight, if you watched him last game, if you watch, in 18 minutes, how many balls? Well, he got this offensive rebound tonight where he just jumped over everybody and got the ball, and then he got fouled and it got knocked away, and he lost the ball and he got clearly fouled, and that was a bummer. But anyway, he needs to play more than 18 minutes. So I think Monty's doing better, but you just got to play him. You got to find a way. You got all these other guys, and Knox played pretty good tonight, but you still got to play him. But when he sat him out after those 18 games, he's got Livers playing in there, and he had Knox playing in there. He had, I don't know who else was playing ahead of him, but he was playing like even less than 18 minutes at that time. So anyway, it's just a bummer. And his defense was just out of this world tonight. He stopped people. He stopped Donovan Mitchell. He stopped other guys. Even when they drive in and shoot a drive over him, they miss it because he contests it. And so it's just I'll never know why. He has, like I said, his defense was great tonight. It's hard for me to say this. I wanted to say this before because I heard this that Oklahoma City never has a minute where at least Shea Gilgeous-Alexander or Jalen Williams or Chet, at least one of those guys is always on the court every second for Oklahoma City, except when they played the Pistons, they weren't. But I talk about staggering all the time, and tonight we didn't need to stagger, I guess, because our bench just annihilated them. They completely outscored them. They shot the lights out, but they're not always going to be that ridiculously on fire. So anyway, it was a tough game, and Monty talked to Killian before the game. So Killian didn't play tonight. I think this is the first game all year where Killian's been healthy that he did not get to play. And I know some of us appreciate that because again, in the very last episode, I talked about there's no way. There's still not even It's not even easy to play, especially once Sasser only played 9 minutes and he played pretty good, and Morris only played 16 minutes. And like I said, it's hard when Cade and Ivy both only scored. Ivy only played 28 minutes and Cade only played 30 minutes. So if those guys played, like I said, 35 minutes, then there's hardly any minutes left. So he almost has to not play him as much if he's going to give any of those other guys minutes. So anyway, we'll go run through the box score and then we'll start talking about trades and some philosophy stuff about it. Bogey, 30 minutes, 5 for 12 and 4 for 8, 3 for 4 on free throws, only 2 rebounds, 0 assists, and 4 turnovers, 17 points. So here he is, and I want to trade him if we can get something for him. Again, I don't want to trade him for a second round pick, but there should be lots of teams that would want him, but maybe they see how bad his defense is. But so if he doesn't get any rebounds and or assists and he turns it over 4 times and he shoots 5 for 12, what do you get? You get the team worst minus 26. So his plus and minus was minus 26. And so he did not, and we want to have that. We're keeping him and we're not trading him. We didn't trade him last year because we want him to help us win some games. But unfortunately, Mike Muscala, they started him tonight because Cleveland starts Jarrett Allen and Mobley, and so they want to play 2 big guys. So they played him and Duran and Muscala, but Muscala bumped heads with somebody and may have got a concussion, but he only played 4 minutes. He was 1 for 2. It was a 3-pointer, and so that was cool. But Duran, 30 minutes, 5 for 9, 9 rebounds. He wasn't quite as a factor, but that's partway because they've got Allen and Mobley down there, and so it makes it hard, for him to do things as much, I think. So, yeah, like the lob wasn't there as much as it usually is for him. So he was minus 10 points, minus 17. Cade, 30 minutes. So again, everybody that says we're better off without Cade, and I mean, if you can think that he was 30 minutes, 8 for 16, 50%, 2 for 4 on threes, 50%. Those are great 50%, but 1 for 2 on free throws, that's a bad 50%. But he only shot 2 free throws, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Great block on Mitchell, man. Mitchell took it right to him. But unfortunately, Cade blocks his shot. The ball bounces, he blocks it, and then Allen comes up with it and dunks it. So made a great defensive play, but they still scored. But he had 0 turnovers. So, he had 7 turnovers last game, and everybody's thinking, I still think they still should have tried to maybe put Ivy on the ball a little bit more than they did, not just Cade, but Cade was fabulous tonight. That was a great game. And again, he blames himself. He said, I missed a couple of shots down the stretch, and I did a couple of fouls. I know in his heart that they weren't fouls, but some of them, but he, takes responsibility for us losing. And Ivy only played 28 minutes, 5 for 7, 2 for 3 on threes. So I'm telling you, that tells you when he's shooting like that, he needs more touches. He's not getting enough touches. So again, they need to get the ball into his hands more. 2 for 3 on threes though, so that's a good sign. But 2 for 3 on free throws, 1 rebound, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. He got way up on his block. I thought he had 2 blocks, but he did have 4 turnovers, so that was bad. But he had 14 points. But Gallinari, he had only 18 minutes. 23 minutes, I'm sorry. 6 for 8, 4 for 4 on threes, and he made this 3. I thought he was 5 for 5 on threes, but with the shot clock running down, Cade whipped cross-court pass to him way up high. He he can't jump that high, but he still got up high. He's a pretty tall guy, but he's in the corner. Somebody's all over him. The shot clock's running out. The guy, you can't even hardly see him. He's buried, and he puts it in. So that was an amazing shot by Gallo. So, but he was 4 for 5 on free throws, 3 rebounds, 2 assists in only 23 minutes, 1 steal, 20 points, plus 13. So he had a great game. Um, Ausar, 18 minutes only. That's a problem when you play when you're playing. I mean, if you say, well, he's struggling out there, so we're only going to play him 18 minutes. But we're trying to build this team. We got to play these young guys, and he's playing amazing, and we can't stop Mitchell, and he sits on the bench for 30 minutes of the game. So who knows? 2 for 3 shooting, so he's not off because he can't shoot. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, two. He had 2 turnovers, only 4 points. But who had the best plus minus on the team? Ausar, and he made other things happen. If you watch the broadcast, if you watch the game, you see that he makes other things happen that don't show up in these box scores. But Knox had a good game. He's not consistent, so that's why we need to have him on the team, but get somebody that's better. But he played really well tonight. In 20 minutes, he was 5 for 9, 1 for 3 on threes, 1 for 1 on free throws, 5 rebounds. He had 2 turnovers, and he doesn't handle it that much. So that's too many turnovers for how many times he touches it, and then how many times he shoots it. So of the times he doesn't shoot it or that he touches it, he turned it over too much. But 12 points plus 4. Burks 30 minutes, which Monty said afterwards he probably played him too many minutes. He was 3 for 5 only, and usually Cleveland plays tough defense. I can repeat myself, but he was 3 for 5, 1 for 3, 4 for 4 on free throws, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, which is amazing. He doesn't usually pass the ball 6 times in a game. 2 turnovers, 11 points, plus 2. Sasser, in only 9 minutes, he was 1 for 2, 1 for 1 on threes, 4 assists in 9 minutes, and so that's really great. But 0 turnovers. So. But they have to do that. He only plays 9 minutes, and that's without Killian playing any minutes. So, Monty, like I said, Monty talked to Killian beforehand because Monty does love Killian, and I don't know. He just said there's too many guards. It's too hard to play that many guards, which I said that last episode. Anyway, let's talk trades. Like I said, we play the Clippers Friday, and then Sunday we play the Magic at 3 o'clock. But I predicted, before I get into that, about a month ago, you can go back to, I don't know which podcast it was in, but I predicted that in the month of January, we were going to win 4 games. And guess what? We won 4 games. So technically, the one was the last day of December. But when I was calculating that, but we easily could have won a couple more. But when we were struggling and we had all those losses in a row, and we had guys hurt and stuff, I said, wait till January. And I knew we had some easier games on the schedule and more home games on the schedule, so that it wasn't like but a lot of people, we only had 3 wins before December 30th. We only had 3 wins. So I was right for once. But let's talking about trades, and again, we want to take advantage in any way we can of situations. And so teams trade players because of contracts, not just because of how good they are. Teams trade players because they have too many players at a certain position. Teams trade players because they need somebody that can do something else that they don't have on their squad. And teams make trades because they're desperate, because everything is going wrong and they need to shake things up. So we need to take advantage of all those. We need to take advantage of the team. So the Lakers and the 76ers, they're just over the tax. So we got that trade exception that we got when we traded for Gallinari and Muscala, and so we can take on a player from those other teams, and that will put the Lakers and the 76ers just under the tax. And then the Suns, Bucks, and Celtics can give us a player that we can take. We don't have to send anything back. We can take their player, and that will get them under the second apron. So, and there's guys, if anybody that makes, I don't know if it's $5.9 million is the trade exception. So we can take anybody off their team, maybe Vanderbilt or Torian Prince and House or Reddish or even Christian Wood. All those guys, those are just examples. Not that we would want. We could pick who you want because they want to get under the cap. But anyway, the first player I'm going to talk about is DeAndre Hunter, and he is the prototype of what we need and what we want. And I talked about this before, that our whole trade deadline and offseason and draft and free agency all needs to be focused on getting a 3-and-D wing. 6'8", 6'7" to 6'9", 6'10" guy that can play defense and shoot the three. So DeAndre Hunter, the problem with him is he has some injuries. He had a knee injury a few years ago. He had missed some games this year because his knee was hurt. But he's 6'8", averaging, not playing that many minutes, 14.6 points, 4 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 46% he's shooting, and biggest thing of all, he's shooting 40% on threes. And so he's making 20 million this year, and next year he's making 21 million, the following year 23 million, and the following year 24 million. So but they just want to get rid of him. So if they can't find what I wouldn't be surprised if we could trade expirings. I mean, we got Joe Harris and Wiseman, and we got, we can still trade them Burks if they want, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm just saying that teams, because they make trades because of money, and they have too many forwards. So that's a good opportunity for us, so that not only do they want to get out from under some money, his contract, they did what they did was they got a bunch of guys signed to reasonable contracts, and Jalen Johnson is playing like an all-star. He's going to be an all-star, and he was drafted really late because he struggled at Duke. I mean, I don't even think he might have quit at one time at Duke. I don't know, can't remember exact story, but he is incredible to watch. And so they just don't have many minutes. AJ Griffin's not even getting to play for them, and they have Sadiq. And I forgot to mention Sadiq has had a terrible month shooting. He shot like 28% on threes for the last month, and we watch him play. He had a good game against the Pistons, but anyway, so DeAndre Hunter is a guy that fits the parameters of what we're looking for. PJ Washington is 25, so Hunter's 26. Washington's 25. So the other thing that we need experienced players that know how to play and can shoot the three and defend. So these two guys give us all of those things. And the thing with PJ is his contract is he has one thing about him is on January 27th he scored 43 points. So he is capable of putting the ball in the basket. But he's making 16 million this year and 15 million next year, and 25-26 he's only making 14 million. So he has a declining contract. He can defend. He's a 4. He can shoot the 3. He's averaging 13.5 points, 5 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and he's not playing that many minutes. And he wasn't starting. He started some games, but shooting 45% from the field. He's shooting 34% on threes this year, but his career he shoots 36% on threes. So he would fit the mold. He's a good defender. So my thing is going into next year, I would be happy with having three wings. We've had 0 all year. Well, we have Knox now, and that are 4s that can shoot 3s. And so we have Ausar, but he can't shoot 3s. So anyway, so Hunter, PJ, or those are 2 guys that we could get. Also, I would want to draft. One would be a rookie. One 3-and-D guy would be a rookie. And so I've talked about that. Some guys that I'm high on. But there's Rui Hashimura. He's the same, 25 years old. So he fits the mold, 6'8". He's averaging 11.4 points, 3.5 rebounds, 1.1 assists, 50% from the floor, 39% on threes. So that is huge. And the Lakers are struggling, so they're desperate for that. They're obviously, I talked a minute ago about would want to get into the tax threshold, and so he's owed 15 million this year, 17 million next year, and 18 million the following year. So he's not making it's a friendly contract, but they need to have some money. They need to create some space for some money, and so I know they want to make some big moves, but yeah. So even we would take him on. He's not a great defender like some of the other guys. So Torian Prince, so he could be thrown in for that mid-level trade exception, but a lot of Laker fans are not happy because he plays too much, they think. But he's 29, but he's going to turn 30 pretty soon. But he's 6'6". I'd like him to be a little bit taller, an inch or two at least. But he's averaging 9.5 points. There's not a lot of shots to go around after LeBron and Anthony Davis. So um, he gets almost 3 rebounds a game, almost 2 assists a game, shooting 43%. And here we are at 39% on threes. So he fits the mold. He's a good veteran. He knows how to play, but he's not 32 or older, and his contract is it's up. So I want us to sign him if we don't trade for him. So there's really not a point of trading him, except we can get him and have him practice with us and decide exactly that how much we want to offer him when he's a free agent. So I still think that a player like him, that we are going to be able to outbid most teams, because most teams don't have much cap space and we need that position. And so we'll see what happens. So Quentin Grimes has been in a lot of talks. I've heard a lot of you guys talk about. He's only 23. He's 6'5". He averages 7.3 points, 2 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 40% only from the floor, but he's shooting 36% on threes, and he's a career 38% shooter on threes. And he can play defense, so he would be a guard. So that would be, we would get him, and then next year, like I said, there's Burks and Morris are both free agents at the end of the year, and Killian is a restricted free agent, so we don't have to sign them. So there, we could be losing 3 guards real easily, and so he would be a great person to fit into our program. And like I said, he's a good defender and he's a good 3-point shooter, and so those are 2 things that we need. So um, and his contract is nothing. He makes $2 million, and then next year he makes $4 million. And so that trade that everybody's talking about with the Knicks is we would always they're keeping Evan Fournier, and he doesn't even play. He has a team option for next year, but they think that even there's a chance the Knicks would keep him. So players that make like about 20 million are valuable to have on your roster because you can use them in trades. And if you don't have those types of guys, then it's hard to make any trades. So anyway, we could, the big trade that's out there is trading Burks and Bogey, one or both of them, and trading and trying to get back our first round draft pick from the Knicks. That, again, I've said this before, that it's way more valuable for us than any team in the NBA, because it handcuffs us from making any trades with picks. I think we can maybe trade, like, we can't make a trade of any pick until the 29th or 2029. And then, like I said, we can trade our first round pick after we draft them. So we can have a trade made before the draft, but we can't consummate it until after the draft. So those are just some things. And then there's, the Stu thing that people have talked about, but there's hard because he's only making like 4 or 5 million right now, but then his new contract kicks in next year. So when you send a player out, you only have to take a player in that matches him, but the team that's taking him on has to send more players out or more money out to match part of his next year's contract. So I don't know how or why that works that way, but so there's really only 2 teams that I can see us trading Stu to, and that's Oklahoma City or the New Orleans Pelicans, because they both have extra picks. And we don't have any extra picks, actually. We're like -1 because of the one that we traded to the Knicks, that the Knicks have. We traded it actually to Houston at first. But anyway, so they both have extra picks that they could give us, and they have young players, and they can't use all of them. They have a surplus. They have too much depth. And so, we could make a trade if we were going to trade Stu for one of those guys. And I have no problem keeping Stu. Like I said, I like him. He's a good backup 5 and a guy that can step in and play the 4. And he's 22. He still can get better at things. But one thing you just have to look at that's fascinating for me is, there's trade rumors all from the beginning of the year on players that they want to get rid of. But there's guys like Patrick Williams. He was on the bench. He was buried on the Bulls bench. And I liked him, and I liked him the year before. But he had a pretty good start, but he had some injuries. But he could shoot the 3, 6'7". He can play defense. He's young. But they were done with him, and then something happened and somebody gets hurt, and all of a sudden he gets to play, and then now all of a sudden he's playing good. I think he got injured again, but he he was playing good. Cody White, he was rumored. I heard people speculating him going to the Pistons all the time, and that we would try to trade and get him. And nobody really wanted him, and he wasn't playing that great. He was always okay, and he's kind of a gunner. But now he's playing unbelievably well. He's getting lots of assists. He gets to play the point. He has the ball in his hands, and he's scoring really well, just like Wiggins. So again, stock up, stock down, and every they still the Warriors might want to get rid of him because again, not now he's playing better. So the last couple weeks he started to play better, but he was playing terribly, and he is still owed a lot of money for several more years. And they need to clear their books. They're paying so much money to Draymond and Clay and Steph, and maybe Clay if he signs a new contract. So, but his stock all of a sudden went up. He was playing bad, and they for sure wanted to unload him. Everybody, all the podcasts were saying let's get rid of him and stuff. But anyway, been talking long enough, but I really appreciate you listening. Don't forget, I will not be doing a podcast probably until after the game Sunday, which is a 3 o'clock start on Sunday. So I will probably cover the Clippers game and the Magic game on Sunday. And unless somehow there's a trade, but I just don't have things set up. Not smart enough to run my podcast somewhere else. And I'll be down by Ann Arbor. That's like 4 hours away from my home. So I'll be there for 2 nights watching my granddaughter play. But anyway, subscribe and like. Thank you very much. And be the reason that somebody feels cared for. And go Pistons.